This is the Romantic music era. The time period was 1820 to 1900, and the style of this time period consisted of the use of extreme expressions and emotions, a freedom in composing, and an expansion in the orchestra, and then major emphasis on lyrical melodies. The main themes of this time period were love, nature, and religion. Music had a big role in society during this time, and the music's role was to express meaning and purpose behind the music and gain emotional reaction from the audience. Music is considered an art that is capable of expressing the full range of emotion and expression. Here are three well-known composers during this time period. We have Franz Liszt, Robert Schumann, and Ludwig van Beethoven. Now, to go into it a little more, we have Franz Liszt. He lived from 1811 to 1886. He composed many pieces of music, and one composition of his was Lebenstraum. He was known as a charismatic showman with a deeply spiritual personality. Liszt was all about getting better and practiced 10 to 12 hours every day. Franz Liszt was known as the greatest piano virtuoso of all time, and he invented the symphonic poem for orchestra. Then we have Robert Schumann. He lived from 1810 to 1856. Many of his best-known piano pieces were written for his wife, Clara Schumann. This is one of his most famous compositions. His wife was also a pianist, and Robert quit law school to study piano. He is known as one of the most important composers of the Romantic era. And then finally we have Ludwig van Beethoven. He lived from 1770 to 1827. He was recognized as one of the greatest and most influential composers of the Western classical tradition. He studied with Mozart's teacher. He became deaf at the age of 28, and then he ended up dying in a thunderstorm at age of 56. Beethoven wrote the world's most famous symphony, which was Beethoven's Fifth. Here's some background information on the time period. Some key inventions during the time were the electric motor, lawnmowers, sewing machines, and the steel plow. Some famous people during the time are Abraham Lincoln, Edgar Allan Poe, Helen Keller, and Marie Curie. Then political climate. During this time, slavery was a huge issue, and then in the year of 1820, the Missouri Compromise was signed. Political climate. The 1800s, the political parties were mainly ruled by Republicans. And then for some leaders during this time, we had Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Edison, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Queen Victoria. And then societal norms were long worked hours and harsh conditions for men, and then women had only household duties. Some clothing during the time. The music was romantic and outgoing, and so was the fashion. Fashion of the 1820s to 1900s consisted of light and airy silks and cottons with bright patterns and colors. Women would wear tightly fitted corset dresses that had a full skirt and full sleeves. And then men would wear the same bright colors and patterns with full fitted shirts and pants. Then we have art during the time. Impressionism was significant. It became known as the influential movement of the era and known as one of the most important movements in the modern history of art. This art was the ability to capture visual reality, especially with light and color. And there was also the neoclassicism movement during this time, and it was based on Roman art. Then finally, with some architecture, we have during the 1820s and 1900s, the architecture style was known as Greek Revival architecture. Greek Revival is a style of architecture inspired by the symmetry and proportion, simplicity, and elegance of the ancient Greek temples of 5th century BC. And in the United States, Greek Revival reached peak popularity from 1825 to 1860, which was the start of the Civil War. And then here's my works cited. Thanks!